Hey there, welcome to Cozzii Traveler. Tonight, we're heading somewhere most people in Las Vegas don't even know exists. And honestly, the city probably prefers to keep it that way. Just below the casinos, the neon and the chaos of the Strip lies another Vegas, a network of concrete tunnels stretching for miles under the city. They were designed to carry away flash floods, but over time, they've carried something else. Lives, stories, and a version of Vegas that doesn't make it into the postcards. It's dark, it's quiet, and if you listen closely you can still hear the faint echo of slot machines above, like the city reminding everyone who's really in charge. We'll explore what's down there, who's down there, and why some people would rather face the floods than the bright lights upstairs. So dim the lights, pull your blanket a little closer, get yourself comfortable, and before we head underground, take a second to subscribe and say hello to your fellow travellers tonight in the comments. Let us know where you're tuning in from and what time it is. It's always wild to see how far these stories travel. Las Vegas isn't supposed to exist. It's a glittering mirage built in a desert that doesn't want it there. Every year, millions of tourists arrive expecting fantasy, a city of lights, fountains and buffet shrimp. But for all its noise and luxury, Vegas is built on something fragile: sand, concrete and denial. Above ground everything is a performance. Even the palm trees aren't from here. They're imported, watered and encouraged to pretend they like the heat. But below all that artifice, reality, raw, cold and damp. The Las Vegas Valley sits in the Mojave Desert, where it's mostly hot and dry. But when it does rain here, it doesn't mess around. The desert floor is hard-packed. It doesn't absorb water. So when a monsoon storm rolls through, that rain has nowhere to go but down, fast and furious. In 1975, a major flood hit Caesar's Palace. Water overflowed the Las Vegas Wash and caused serious damage. City officials knew they had a problem. So in the late 1980s, after years of planning, construction crews broke ground on a massive drainage system. Most of it was completed in the 1990s. When city planners built the storm drain system, they weren't thinking about people. They were thinking about physics, how to keep sudden flash floods from turning the Strip into a swimming pool. The tunnels were designed to handle water rushing in from the desert during monsoon season, but the city didn't plan for the other kind of flood, the human one. There are more than 600 miles of tunnels winding beneath Las Vegas. To put that in perspective, that's about the distance from Vegas to San Francisco, just in drainage pipes. The tunnels connect everything: the airport, the Strip, suburban neighborhoods, and the desert beyond. Some are tall enough to walk through, others are narrow enough to make you wish you hadn't eaten that second buffet plate. The main arteries are massive, concrete tubes 12 feet in diameter, some even larger. Then there are the smaller branches that feed into the main channels. Some of these are barely 4 feet across, crawl spaces that force you onto your hands and knees. The temperature down there stays remarkably constant year-round. While the surface of Vegas bakes at 115 degrees in summer, the tunnels hover around 60 to 70 degrees. In winter, when the desert nights drop below freezing, the tunnels feel almost warm by comparison. It's one reason people gravitate to them: nature's climate control completely free. They're pitch black, humid, and eerily quiet. Occasionally the silence is broken by the sound of water dripping or the distant rumble of a car passing overhead. If you stand still long enough, you can feel the vibrations of the city above you. Delivery trucks making their rounds, tour buses ferrying people from Caesars to the Luxor, the constant pulse of a city that never sleeps. The walls are marked with waterline stains, dark brown rings that show how high the floodwaters reach during past storms. Some of these marks are 8-9 feet up the wall. Imagine standing in a space and seeing evidence that a few months ago this entire tunnel was filled nearly to the ceiling with rushing water. For a long time, nobody thought much about what was happening down there. The city had its flood control system, and that was that. Out of sight, out of mind. Then, in 2002, everything changed. A murderer named Timmy T.J. Weber killed his girlfriend and fled into the tunnels. He evaded police by vanishing underground, somehow splashing more than 3 miles through the darkness. Matt O'Brien was managing editor at Las Vegas City Life, an alternative weekly newspaper, when this happened. He and a contributor named Josh Ellis decided to explore some of the storm drains, trying to understand how someone could disappear so completely beneath the city. Their articles attracted massive attention online. The publication's website got 1 million hits in a day. By then, O'Brien was convinced there were secrets to be discovered beneath the neon, so he kept going back. Armed with a flashlight, tape recorder, and expandable baton for protection, he explored the flood control system for more than 4 years. O'Brien expected to find graffiti, maybe the occasional urban explorer. What he found instead was civilization. The first things he saw were makeshift beds, pieces of plywood laid across milk crates with blankets neatly folded on top. Shelves made from scrap wood holding canned food, paperback novels and battery-powered radios. He kept walking. More beds, more shelves, a small area that looked like a communal kitchen with a camping stove, pots and pans hanging from nails driven into the concrete. There were beds made from milk crates and blankets, shelves stacked with paperbacks and canned food, candles, mirrors, even artwork painted straight onto the concrete walls. In one section, someone had strung up Christmas lights. They weren't plugged in, there's no electricity down there, but they hung there anyway, a reminder of normalcy, of the world above. He found people reading by flashlight, people sharing food, organising clean-up schedules, even decorating for holidays. He met one man who had built a small altar out of discarded casino chips. Another had a cat, which, honestly, might be the most vaguest thing ever. Even the pets are gambling their lives in this city. The cat's name was Ace, and it had apparently adapted to tunnel life, hunting rats and sleeping on a salvaged pillow. O'Brien started coming back regularly. He interviewed more than 300 people living in the tunnels over the next few years. He documented their stories, took photographs with Danny Mollahan, and in 2007 published a book called Beneath the Neon, Life and Death in the Tunnels of Las Vegas. The book shocked people. Not just tourists, but locals too. Here was proof that while millions of dollars were being won and lost on the tables above, a parallel city existed below, one where the stakes were even higher. The people who live down there aren't what most outsiders imagine. Sure, some are struggling with addiction or mental illness, but many are just people who ran out of luck, which is pretty poetic considering where they live. Take Rick and Cindy. They ended up in the tunnels after Rick's mother died of cancer. They'd been living with her in a seniors complex, taking care of her. When she passed, they had to move out immediately. With nowhere else to go, they ended up underground. When journalists visited them, their tunnel space reeked of sewage, but they treated it like a home. Cindy would clean up, arrange furniture. Rick built a kitchen area with a camping stove. Cindy even decorated the walls with insane clown posse murals. These 2 chairs are actually from the last flood, Cindy explained to a reporter. They survived in the rushing water, holding on by their wheels. In 2013, Rick and Cindy appeared on Dr. Phil after Matt O'Brien escorted professional locator Troy Dunn into the tunnels to find them. Cindy's 4 daughters, from whom she'd been separated for years, confronted her about her living situation. At the end of the show, Dr. Phil offered Rick and Cindy rehab and family counselling services. They accepted. There's Mike, who spent years in the tunnels, addicted to meth. He once found a $1,600 winning sports ticket on a casino floor, cashed it out, then came back to the tunnels and got high. He never considered using the money to find a decent place to live. Eventually, an organization called Help of Southern Nevada evaluated him and put him in a home. After counseling, he started looking for work. Numerous employers rejected him, probably because of his 8-year employment gap in the tunnels. He sold plasma for extra money. One day he saw that a gun store was hiring. When he applied, he was totally honest about where he'd been. They hired him on the spot. Some used to work in the very casinos that now glow above them. Others are veterans who couldn't afford rent after their benefits ran out. People who'd lost everything in a divorce or a bad gambling habit or a medical crisis. It's not comfort, but it's theirs. The tunnels offer something that's in short supply in Las Vegas: consistency. Up there, everything changes. Jobs vanish, hotels close, relationships collapse faster than a bad poker hand. Down here, at least the rules stay the same. Your space is your space, as long as you can maintain it. The rain comes during monsoon season. That's predictable. The outreach workers show up every few months, also predictable. The routine might be harsh, but it's routine nonetheless. But stability comes at a cost. When it rains, and it does, violently, during monsoon season, the tunnels can flood in seconds. The monsoon season in Las Vegas typically runs from June through September. During these months, the desert sky can transform from clear blue to apocalyptic grey in minutes. Imagine standing in pitch darkness and suddenly hearing a low rumble that turns into a roar. At first, it sounds distant, almost like thunder, but it grows louder and louder. Then you feel it, a breeze that shouldn't exist underground, pushed ahead of the water. Within moments, the water can rise waist-deep, sweeping away everything in its path. People who've experienced it describe a specific sound, a rushing, crashing roar mixed with the clatter of debris. Shopping carts, tree branches, trash cans, rocks, all tumbling together in the current. The water is brown, opaque, impossible to see through. And it's fast. Flash floods in desert tunnels can move at speeds of 15 to 20 miles per hour. Try running through waist-deep water at that speed. You can't. Some residents tie ropes to the tunnel entrances so they can find their way out when the water comes. Others keep plastic bins near their beds, ready to float their belongings if they have to. One tunnel resident named John told a reporter about flushing the toilet, his term for when water floods through and washes everything away. He said water routinely came over his head. When you think it's going to rain, you have your stuff at the end of that tunnel ready to move. Not everyone makes it. People die every year in the tunnels during floods, according to Louis Lacey, Homeless Response Director for HELP of Southern Nevada. It's not just rain that threatens them, it's the city itself. Cleanup crews periodically sweep the tunnels, forcing people to move out. The crews say it's for maintenance, for safety, to keep the drainage system functional. And they're not wrong. The tunnels need to be clear to do their job. But for the people living there, these cleanups are devastating. Everything you own, every small comfort you've created, gone. Most people just move to a different section of the tunnel system and start over. Because where else are they going to go? And then there's the irony. Above ground, people spend fortunes trying to escape reality. Below ground, others are trying to escape it too, just from the opposite direction. Despite the danger, the tunnels have their own rhythm, their own strange kind of society. People look out for each other. There's a loose code, you don't steal, you don't talk to cops, and you always warn your neighbours when the rain comes. Stealing is considered the worst offence. When you have almost nothing, the things you do have become sacred. Help someone out, though, and they'll remember. Some tunnels even have unofficial mayors, long-time residents who mediate disputes or decide where new people can settle. One mayor, a man named Craig, told reporters he'd lived in his tunnel for 7 years. He made a living selling lost golf balls picked up at a neighbourhood club. He was the only tunnel resident in his section who got Social Security payments, about $800 a month. He used to gamble it away in the casinos, but said he'd stopped. "We take pride that we don't steal from each other," Craig explained. The tunnel had rules, and if you didn't follow them, you'd be asked to leave. Among the rules, keep clean and respect others. And yes, there are relationships. Couples who share cramped spaces that would make most hotel rooms look luxurious. Birthdays, anniversaries, even small holiday parties, all underground. It's tragic, yes, but also oddly beautiful. When you've lost everything else, what remains is community, no matter where you find it. Robert Banghart, who works as outreach director for Shine a Light, lived in the tunnels himself for 2.5 years, out of the 5 years he was homeless. He was addicted to heroin and crystal meth since he was a teenager. He describes tunnel life as archaic, like in the novel Lord of the Flies. People see themselves as belonging to a kind of brotherhood or tribe. 4 years ago, 3 men tried to kill Banghart. They left him for dead next to railroad tracks. A worker called an ambulance. "I had a knife stuck in my leg," Banghart recalls. "A hatchet had hit me in the head 3 times. A blow with a pipe shattered my jaw. My liver was shredded." He hovered between life and death for days. When he recovered, he went through rehab. He's been sober for more than 6 years now. except for about 60 relapses, he says, with dark humour. Now he helps others. In that state of mind, I said to myself, it's got a roof. It's out of the sun. Banghart explained about why he chose the tunnels. It's a little twisted, but it was a community. The city knows about the tunnels, and some organisations try to help. Police and outreach workers go down before major storms to warn residents to evacuate. They'll walk the tunnels, calling out, shining flashlights, urging people to come to the surface. But not everyone leaves. Louis Lacey from HELP explains, we go into the tunnels to make sure people who want to get out are out, but not everyone leaves, often because they don't want to leave their belongings. People die every year. Several non-profits work in Vegas specifically focused on helping tunnel residents. HELP of Southern Nevada has programs designed to transition people out of the tunnels and into permanent housing. They work with landlords, help with job placement, medical care, identification documents, all the things you need to function in society above ground. Shine a Light was founded by Matt O'Brien himself in 2009. The organisation provides food, clothing, housing referrals and drug treatment services. What makes it unique is that about 90% of the volunteers are formerly homeless themselves, many former tunnel dwellers. Every Saturday, Banghart and 60 to 80 volunteers go into the tunnels in groups of 6 to 8, handing out supplies, offering help. In the past 7 months, they've helped 220 people transition out of the tunnels, up from 80 for all of the previous year. Case managers like Brian Johnson, who also works for Shine a Light and lived in the tunnels himself, search underground for their clients. On a recent afternoon, Johnson found a man named Jay Flanders beneath Caesar's Palace, stretched out on a plywood bed. Flanders, 49, had sores across his back and arms. He acknowledged occasional meth use and couldn't recall exactly how long he'd lived underground. "Why don't you come inside?" Johnson asked. "Come get treatment." It's slow work. The crews approach cautiously, offering supplies, building trust. "It's cool," we say, Banghart explains. "We're handing out free stuff. You want a cigarette? You got water. Here's a bag of stuff. We'll leave it for you. And then, maybe next time, they see what we've done, that we're good, here to help. No strings." Matt O'Brien helped hundreds of people out of the tunnels through his work. But for every person who climbs out, another seems to fall in. Vegas is a magnet for people chasing luck, and for some, the tunnels are just where that chase ends. It's worth pausing to consider the economics that create and sustain the tunnel population. Las Vegas has one of the highest rates of income inequality in the country. A housekeeper at a major strip casino might make $15 an hour. Meanwhile, a one-bedroom apartment in Vegas can run over $1,400 a month. Do the math. $15 an hour, 40 hours a week, comes to about $2,400 a month before taxes. After taxes, maybe $2,000. Rent takes more than half. One unexpected expense, car repair, medical bill, and the whole structure collapses. The market rent in southern Nevada rose 20% from 2022 to 2023, higher than the national average. As more people get displaced, more retreat underground. And it's not just locals. Outreach workers say it's often out-of-towners who wind up homeless. Some come to make it in the entertainment industry. Others lose everything at the casinos. People come here on vacation to gamble or try and make it, and they lose everything, says Johnson, the case manager. The housing market is insane. Rents keep going up. A lot of people wind up down here. People just get stuck. The city's economy is volatile. Tourism drives everything, and tourism fluctuates. During the 2008 recession, Vegas was devastated. During the pandemic shutdown in 2020, tens of thousands of service workers lost their jobs overnight. The tunnel population swelled. Currently, outreach workers estimate between 1,200 and 1,500 people live in the 600 miles of tunnels beneath Las Vegas. The tunnels aren't all gloom. If you look closely, you'll find art everywhere. Spray-painted murals, messages of hope. A few walls read, "Still here." Others simply say home. Light filters down through the grates, forming moving patterns on the floor, almost like stained glass in a cathedral. It's eerie and breathtaking at the same time. The light shifts throughout the day, Morning light is soft, angled, creating long shadows. Midday light is harsh and direct. Evening light is golden, almost peaceful. When cars pass overhead, their shadows interrupt the light patterns, creating flickering movements. And that's the contradiction of the tunnels. They're both tomb and sanctuary. An accidental monument to everything Vegas hides beneath its glittering skin. In some ways, the tunnels are more honest than the city above. There's no pretense down there, no performance. People are exactly who they are, struggling, surviving, sometimes thriving in ways that wouldn't make sense anywhere else. Of course, this is Las Vegas, the city that never met a rumor it didn't like. People love to say the tunnels connect to casino vaults, or that the mob used them to dump bodies. The mob angle makes some sense historically. Vegas was built by organized crime. Bodies did disappear. But the tunnel system as it exists today was mostly built in the 1990s, well after the mob's heyday. The vault rumor is even more persistent. People swear the tunnels connect to casino basement vaults. The truth? They're just storm drains. No treasure maps, no secret doors to the Bellagio. But if you think about it, the truth is darker than the myth. The tunnels do hide something, not gold or mob secrets, but the people the city would rather forget. Vegas sells an image: luxury, excess, possibility. The tunnels contradict that image. They're proof that for every winner, there are far more losers. The city doesn't advertise the tunnels. They're not on tourist maps. You won't see them in travel guides. They're the shadow side of the glitz, the part of Vegas that doesn't generate revenue. And in a city built on revenue, that makes them invisible. Street medicine providers and outreach workers say they've noticed an uptick in people living underground as housing costs have skyrocketed and local officials have adopted a zero-tolerance approach to homelessness. They're also confronting levels of drug addiction that make it harder to get people to come above ground for care. It's meth, it's fentanyl, it's opioids. We're seeing it more and more, says Banghart. Meanwhile, above them, the Bellagio fountains dance to Sinatra. The Venetian gondolas glide through artificial canals. High rollers bet amounts in a single hand that could pay a year's rent for someone below. The contrast is staggering. In one interview, O'Brien described dancing under the MGM Grand at 3 a.m, partying in a tunnel while above him thousands of people gambled and celebrated. He braces against a flood. He parties with naked crackheads. He learns how to make meth, that art is most beautiful where it's least expected, and that there are no pots of gold under the neon rainbow, wrote one reviewer about O'Brien's adventures. It's a different kind of Vegas, one that exists in the gaps between the official story. In June 2016, 3 tunnel dwellers died in a flash flood. O'Brien and a homeless man known as Jazz appeared on NPR afterward to talk about the tragedy. The deaths highlighted what advocates had been saying. People are risking their lives down there every day. But the problem keeps growing. The Regional Flood Control District currently has projects underway to add even more tunnels to the already massive system. They're trailing behind rapid urban development, fitting infrastructure into spaces between communities. Each new tunnel is another potential home for someone with nowhere else to go. It's a cycle that seems endless, like the tunnels themselves. Some people ask why they don't just close off the tunnel entrances, make them inaccessible. But there are hundreds of access points scattered throughout the city, and the tunnels need to stay accessible for maintenance and emergency purposes. You can't seal off 600 miles of drainage system, so the tunnels remain open, always available. After 4 years underground, Matt O'Brien came away with some clear conclusions. He learned, as he wrote, that there are no pots of gold under the neon rainbow. He learned that art is most beautiful where it's least expected, in the murals and makeshift decorations of people who have nothing. He learned that in many ways, he preferred underground Las Vegas to above-ground Las Vegas. There was honesty down there. People weren't pretending to be anything other than what they were. Publishers Weekly wrote that O'Brien continually contrasts the sparkling casinos above with the dank, cobwebbed catacombs below, but noted that his compassion is also evident as he illuminates the lives of these shadowy subterranean dwellers. The book brought international attention to the issue. CNN, Fox News, NPR, the BBC, Al Jazeera, the New York Times all covered the tunnels after Beneath the Neon was published. The tunnels even appeared in TV shows like CSI and Criminal Minds. In 2017, O'Brien moved to El Salvador to teach and to write a follow-up book. That book, Dark Days, Bright Nights, Surviving the Las Vegas Storm Drains, was published in 2020. It focuses on the people who made it out of the tunnels and turned their lives around, the recovery stories, because those exist too. Mike working at the gun store, Banghart helping others through Shine a Light, Rick and Cindy getting treatment, people who clawed their way back to the surface. Next time you're in Las Vegas, maybe standing on the Strip, watching the Bellagio fountains explode to the sound of Sinatra, remember that less than 40 feet below your shoes, it's silent. No music, no lights, just the slow drip of water and the shuffle of unseen feet. It's easy to believe Vegas is a city about winning, but walk its underbelly and you'll see what it's really about, surviving. The people down there don't have jackpots or comps or credit lines. They have ropes, candles, and each other. And maybe, in its own strange way, that's the real Vegas, the one that never advertises, never sleeps, and never quits. As Banghart says, there's 600 miles of tunnels in Las Vegas and 1,500 people living in them, but everyone in there is alive, someone worth saving.